Hey, Shalom Malkin, to Rakam Akapash from Jim West London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Shavak HaKadosh. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of Jim West, and Shalom out there to the heart for all that pushing his truth in all sincerity. Back in another video. It's kind of like to compliment another video I did earlier this week. And this is exactly what I was saying in it, in terms of these Edomites deeming or Trump deeming the fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction, right? It's just a prelude to really perform more operations inside America, man, to get you more and more you Jakes involved, or become targets, which will extend even further to men in this truth, man, because these men can designate anybody a terrorist just because he said so. Because their views don't align with him or whatever. He's doing the same with the left. And so it's just his way of using greater power within the United States itself, right? And like I said, these men are going to use the military and all that kind of stuff to bring persecution, upon the people, okay, and namely Jake. All right, this is going to be used to create Jacob's trouble. All right, so this is from theintercept.com. It says U.S. military willing to attack designated terrorist organizations within America, General says, right? So yeah, right now, these guys are all talking about Venezuela and stopping the boats with the drugs and whatever, right? Aiming and attacking these guys, but there's organizations within America that that are part of this the system, right? That if you're about this, then you're gonna have to go after also, right? But just like a lot of Jake are caught up in these different operations. Esau is the one at the head of everything. Running these illegal operations, right? Jake is on the ground, right? And Jake has become the face of all these gangs and drug cartels, all these different types of things, right? So he's really coming after you because he's not going to go and go where the money's at. He ain't going to follow the money and put a bunch of his friends, in the situation, right? But he's going to come after you, Jake, right? And that's what he's been doing. But he's going to have more and more reasons or excuses to operate, on the home, inside America, on home territory, right, against American citizens, right? So they're erasing your rights as an American citizen, right? Because like I said, he'll just expand this idea or notion of being a terrorist. It won't simply stay at these men are pushing drugs or whatever. It'll be for other things, right? So this is what I was saying. So I want to see what I can read here because I don't really want to put my email address and all that in here, and bothering you with all these notifications. But yeah, it says you got a quote here. If I had no concerns and I was not confident in the lawful order, I would definitely execute that order. Right. So then I'm prepared, right? So the commander of the arm of the U.S. military responsible for President Donald Trump's illegal military occupations of American cities said he is willing to conduct attacks on so-called designated terrorist organizations within the U.S. This startling admission comes after months of extrajudicial killings of alleged members or affiliates of DTOs. I'm not sure what that stands for actually. In the waters near Venezuela, right, which experts and lawmakers say are outright murders. General Gregory Gilead of U.S. Northern Command, of a four-star general who takes his orders from War Secretary Pete Hegseth, made clear his position in testimony before the Senate Armed Services Committee last week when asked about his willingness to attack DTOs within U.S. borders by Senator Jack Reed. He replied, If I had questions, I would elevate that to the chairman and the secretary. And if I had no concerns and I was confident in the lawful order, I would definitely execute that order, right? Which is that quote from up here, right? So these men don't have no problem with doing all these operations inside the US as well, using the military to do it. Because usually, the police force would, deal with things like this, and they will put, there's a different set of rules that the police have to go by as opposed to the military, right? And police are meant to, arrest, shut down, arrest people, and it's to go through the judicial system, right? It's different when the military rolls up. They're here, they're trained killers. They're not here to arrest you, right? As you can see, what these guys have been doing, in the Caribbean right now, and just blowing up boats. They're just blowing up people, right? And we don't even know, we don't know if there's any drugs in the boat. We don't know nothing because nothing's been recovered, right? So we don't even know what these boats are, right? They're just blowing stuff up. America, fuck yeah. They're doing the whole American thing. And I think about 95 people have been killed, so they say, in these operations. But yeah, these guys, if you send the military, like, look, man, you're not going to want to see them. Let me just put it that way, man, because like I said, they're not here. They're not trained to arrest people and process you. Like, yeah, they might take captives or whatever, but oh damn, it's a new Spartacus series. Damn. So I just saw that on the TV. Right, but yeah, these men are trained to kill. So, best believe, if Trump's gonna be using military, in house, just kind of similar with these ice ages. They're like, the Stasi and all this kind of stuff. The SS troops, like, them men just doing whatever they want. Right, so they're gonna, be kind of lawless in a way. All right, but putting people to death. All right, so let me get Ezekiel 21 verse 9 here, right? It says, Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith Lord, say a sword is sharpened and also furbished. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter, right? So Esau going to use greater force, right? More, be more, lethal, right? Let me finish this. I want to get Revelation 12 and 12, right? It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? It containeth the rod of my son as every tree. And ye have given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened and is furbished to give it into the hand of the slayer. Right? And Trump is the one wielding that sword right now, man. And similar things are going to happen to, into the rest of these world. These governments are going to, use more force, more oppressive means when, these uprisings and that occur. Right? But specifically in America, you can see how they're moving. Right? These men are gonna bring a sore slaughter. Right? They're not playing. They're gonna be playing, nice, and they're gonna be playing by the rules that they set themselves. Right? Esau is changing the game. This is Revelation 12 and 12 says, Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, okay, which is these Edomites, these so-called white people, right, is come down unto you having great wrath, right, because you know if they have but a short time. So this is now we know, like, we're getting closer to the end, obviously, right? Prophecy is manifesting. These men are acting more bold and more ruthlessly, right? Just like the prophecy said it would. Right? And so as time goes on, things are going to get worse. All right? It's Jeremiah 30 verse 7 says, Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he should be saved out of it. All right? So like I said, Esau's going to use these forces that are not supposed to be used on home soil. Right? An army is supposed to protect the nation, but not meant to be used on it. Right? That's why you have police force. That's why there's a separation. Otherwise, you just have a military do everything. But no, you have a police force, right? But even the police force have been heavily militarized, right? And then you got all these different agencies, the ICE and all these different things here, right? And they're all focusing really on the American citizen, right? And attacking Jake. They've been targeting Jake, right? Because you know these easy Edomites saying are pretty much blaming you for why America is you know shitty, you know, it's not prospering, it ain't good no more, right? It's you, Jake, right? So he's taking aim at you to get rid of you and to suppress you and oppress you, you know. So that's why it's the time of Jacob's trouble, all right? But you know, we gonna be saved out of it, the elect, right? Let me read this down 12 and 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince was standing for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Right? You know, so that the elect are going to be delivered, you know, from these evils. All right. As this wasn't going to be a long one. This is just to kind of complement the previous video, you know. So I went through some scriptures, you know, that some of the some similar scriptures, right? While I went through the article, but yeah, closing up with this, Revelation chapter 2 verse 10 says, "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison." Right. So yeah, you know, someone's gonna be detained, and you know, you got these guys sending these you know people to Guantanamo and all these different types of things, like you know these concentration camps. You know, they're gonna do all these different types of things, put you to death, and you know whatever, however it goes down for you know the individual. You know. But you know we're not to fear the you know how Esau's rolling, right? Because we know this is how it's supposed to go, right? And if we stay faithful to the end, guess what? We're going to be delivered, man, one way or another. You know, it says, "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried." Okay, only the Lord is the one testing us, right? By putting us in these you know precarious situations to see, you know, where our faith is at. What do we believe in? You know, it's the Most High's final test, man. Are you going to give in to Esau and then take his MOTB, or you are going to you know choose to die in the Lord? You know, the Lord is testing us in these last days, right? So then you shall have tribulation 10 days, right? Which is you know just you know a number of days, right? Not specifically 10, right? It says, "Be thou faithful unto death," right? So we're commanded to be faithful unto death, right? Because believe Esau is going to be you know dealing death, right? So you know don't think you know you're saved because you're like I said you know like now you know in the UK especially, right? You don't expect to really get put to death. You know, you come in contact with the police, please come out and arrest you. Yeah, it happens. You know, police shootings happen and people die and stuff like that. But you know, you don't really expect it, right? So you feel kind of relatively you know sure that nothing's gonna happen type thing, right? But in these times, man, no, you might get your head might get blown off, man, for anything. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll be in that spirit. You know, so if they take you captive, man, you know, you're like damn, you know, Lord have mercy, you know, at that moment in time, you know. But like I said, they might put you into prison, you know, they might torture you, might do any kind of thing, right? But we're to be faithful unto death, right? And so they might pressure you to take the MOTB and all these different types of things. But we just got to be faithful unto death, man. We got to know and stick, you know what we believe in, know what we're in, you know what we're in, and hold out, man. You know, not break. You know, but like I said, this is what it is, man. This is what it really is about. You know, internalizing the military, using it on the you know American citizens on you Israelites, man. You know, that's what's being set up. All right. So you know, I'm gonna end it there, Lord. This has been edifying, and I'll catch you, brothers and sisters, on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.